All of these people come with problems, we get around them. Find my bitch on the island, fuck you up deep like a virus. Take a look deep in my iris. I wanted love but got pain, they wanted something to gain. I was just wanting some change, I put in work and got paid, yeah. People come with problems, we get around them. Find my bitch on the...
Hello everybody, welcome to another exciting episode of Jimmy's Jambox. We're here, we're back at it again, and we're going to get on into it. But before we do, as always, please make sure to like, subscribe, push all the buttons, do all the things. You know, I don't know where they are, but you do, and I trust you. And with that being said, here's a quick word from our sponsors. Organic herbs and botanicals, skincare and edibles, wellness for body and mind. The Brothers Apothecary. Fine teas and remedies. Ronald Records. From indie gems to classic hits, discover the heart of local music. With live shows all the time, up close and personal, and regular releases on their in-house label. Ronald Records. Supporting the community, one track at a time. All right, thank y'all so much for watching. Again, shout out The Brothers Apothecary, Ronald Records, and Portland Water. Thanks for keeping us hydrated. And with that being said, let's go ahead and get on into it. Here is today's guest.
Hey, it's John Wavy. What's up?
Hello. Thank you so much for joining us.
Of course, I'm happy to be here.
Yeah, I'm super excited to talk about your new album, Floating on the Waves. Super stoked for everybody to get to hear it. I did get to check it out myself. Thank you for sending it over, and it's real good.
Hell yeah.
As y'all heard in the beginning, we checked out the very first track on the album, People Come With Problems, and it's real good. It's real good. I think it's a really cool way to start things off. Very true to your name. It's definitely kind of got a little bit of a wavy vibe to it right from the start. And what I think is really interesting, and this is definitely a running theme that y'all are going to hear me say throughout the episode, is the acoustic guitar. Very present during the whole thing in a lot of ways. But I like how it switches to the electric once it gets into the track. And also, I think it's really cool that it's not, it's more of an intro than it is like a full track. Because it's like a hook, that like bridge verse, and then it goes back to the hook.
Yeah.
But it's just kind of those two main bodies. And it's very catchy. The beat definitely slaps, like, which is also another running theme for sure. But I just like that it was, you didn't give it all away, but you set up the album in a really cool way with that track.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. Before I get into the first question, do you have anything you'd like to share about it?
Yeah, I mean, with that song, when I was making it, I wasn't really thinking about it as going to be the intro for my album. Mm-hmm. But when I was putting the album together, I thought it really fit well as like an opener for the project.
Oh yeah, which actually, that was my next question, is what made you decide to go with that one? Was it just like the sound? Was there like a message in it that kind of led to it in the end?
I think there's a deeper message in it. Probably just... probably like, you know, just acknowledging problems and that people have problems, you know, nobody's perfect and things like that. Yeah,
no, I dig that for sure. Well, like I said, it's a really, really cool way to open up the track. I think it gave you a lot for like what to expect, but it really doesn't set you up for like what comes from the rest of the album. So it was a cool like toe dip into the realm of it, but it definitely made me want to listen to the rest of it. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to jump on into the next track now and check it out. This one's called Throughout These Days.
Walking the stool and I'm dripping. Don't give a fuck if they tripping. Say that I wouldn't, I did it. I'ma just sit back and listen. Stars in the roof getting lowered. When we in traffic, I flow it. When I celebrate, I'm a poet. Time run.
All right, and we're back. Now, that was the first like full like track on the album, and I gotta say, you came out swinging. That first track, I think, really sets it up. It kind of gives you this like this feel, this vein, this lane that you're going to be in. And then throughout these days just comes in and just knocks it all down. Just really just, you get into it. The beat is very like somber. It still sticks to the acoustic guitar theme. Said I was going to be saying it through this whole thing. Definitely shows up a bunch. But there was just this extra element to it. It's very melodic, very direct. Like you weren't putting your thoughts into like metaphors and similes in that one. You were just coming out very forward with that one, and it gave like a really big message for like people to experience kind of from the beginning.
Yeah.
Now, before I get into the normal parts, like I said, do you have anything that you'd like to add before we go into it?
Well, throughout these days, that song, one thing that is kind of a fun fact about it is one of my old artist friends is a very great friend of mine. He wrote 2 of the lines in that song, and that's the only time someone has like written for me and I used it, but I thought it was pretty dope. I thought it would work, and yeah, I think I really appreciate what you were saying about how it sort of just knocks things into play and stuff with the sounds, and how I was delivering on that track. Yeah.
No, very much so. It was kind of a cool, like, because the first one is, like I said, it's a little more like, it's kind of rhythmic, it's kind of repetitive, it's kind of like locking you into the sound. But this one, like, you open up, you really give a lot in that track, and it's not kind of dressed up or anything like that. It really is just like a firm, like, here is me saying my things.
Yeah.
So, really cool way to lead into it. And that is an interesting fact. Thank you for sharing that.
Hell yeah.
Don't tell us what they are. I want everybody to not know what the 2 lines are, but I am so curious to know what it is. But getting into the next question, we're going to get a super easy one out of the way here. How'd you pick the name for the album?
How did I pick the name? I was thinking about a name for a long time, and I almost called it Life in an acronym, but never fully came up with the acronym I wanted to use.
Okay.
So when I was realizing that my songs were all put together, and I needed to find a good name for it so I can make the cover art and get everything ready to post, I just thought about all the songs, and I kept listening to everyone and like listening to it in order and everything, like trying to think what really like is the vibe and what is the feeling I get. And I sort of just recognized that it's my vibes on every song that I've made. And since my name is John Wavy, I figured, like we just floating on the waves, like we just going with the flow. Like creating the album, I didn't have like the album in mind.
Yeah.
Like as I'm creating the songs, like I was just like, okay, maybe I want to put this on a project, but I didn't know like I was gonna name it that. I didn't know it was gonna be all these different songs, but it sort of came together like that. And when I thought of floating on the waves, I thought that just fit perfectly.
Oh yeah, I dig that, and that kind of ties into some things I have to say later in the episode. So that's gonna work out real well. Everybody kind of share that or store that answer in for later. But let's go ahead. We're gonna jump on into the next track. Now the album is huge. It's 15 tracks, so we're not gonna be able to cover all of them. So we're gonna start jumping around a little bit earlier, and we're gonna make a small jump here for the next track, which is called Lieutenant.
Soldier, I'm a lieutenant. I'ma go drop 20 bands on a pendant. No, I be up in the mouth like a dentist. I'ma spend cash to the whip and they rent it. No, you can't see in it, my windows tinted. No, you can't be with me, now she offended. I'ma go hop in the whip and then spin it.
All right, and we're back. Now, that track was tough as hell.
Hell yeah, thank you.
It was hard. I mean, probably some of the biggest bass on the whole album.
Yeah.
And that's saying something because the whole album slaps, like I've said before. But you came in so cold. And this was one where you were talking your shit for sure. You were just all the way in your bag. You were locked in. Your delivery was so smooth. And in a way, and this is really only going to resonate with the other Bryson Tiller fans in the world, but that track was your Rambo. Which I say 100% as a compliment. That one just has so much weight to it, and for being so early on, like it's such a cool like change up in like energy.
Yeah,
like you said, it's still very much you, but it was just a really cool track. And so I'm curious, do you have anything you'd like to share about it?
Hell yeah! I mean, that song, I definitely love it a lot. when I was making it, I was just wanting to make something lit, you know, not worried about like too much of the deeper meaning, but just make something bumping. When I found the beat, I just instantly knew that I was going to make something to that beat. Didn't know what, but came out like the lieutenant on that one.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah, I dig it for sure. And now for the next question, then I want to get a little more technical. Let's knock out some of those aspects. Was it all like recorded and mixed and mastered in the same place? Did you go a few places to do it? How did you go about like getting it physically put together?
Well, I recorded it in my home, in my room. The mixing and mastering. At first, I did all the mixing. And then I had one of my friends, old member of 808 Mafia, producer from there. He did the master for it. And then I started performing it for a while. Released it on my old project too, but it was the old master. And then I had realized that I had dropped the wrong version. So I had to put the remastered version on that project, sort of keep it together with the songs and let people hear it how I thought it should sound.
Gotcha. Hell yeah, I dig that. And then how long did it take to get it all put together?
I would say like I was going through different versions of that song for maybe like a few weeks.
Yeah. Oh, I mean for the whole album.
I'll say that again.
For the whole album, how long did it take to put it all together?
Oh, put together the whole album.
Yeah.
Well, there's some songs on the album, a couple that are from 2023. And most of the other songs are newer, and they were made in the past 6 to 8 months this year.
Okay, so all in all about it like a year and a half-ish.
Yeah.
Gotcha, I dig that. All right, well then let's go ahead. We're going to jump more into the middle now. We're going to skip a few tracks this time, and this next one's called Madness.
But that's when I gotta leave, 'cause I don't want no attachments. I don't want to deal with all the madness. Lie to me, I'll take it to your casket. Now I'm gone, we're done, it's in the past tense. I don't want no attachments.
And we're back. Now that track really had something special to it. It was big, it was melodic, it was emotional. I mean, it was catchy as hell too. It was also the first track on the album you had with a feature, which I forgot to say in the name. Shout out Jay Wade. And it just, I mean, also, I keep saying it, I'm going to keep saying it. It had the real cool acoustic guitar vibe going on in it. And it also had this extra touch. And I don't know if it's because it was a track with a feature, but there was something really refreshing about the whole sound. Like right from the start, it just had this feel to it. It felt just really, really powerful. Like it had this extra presence to it. There was like an extra layer in like the like melodic backgrounds. There was just something about it that I can't quite put my finger on that just made that one really stand out. And especially for being like the quintessential halfway point, I thought that was a really powerful track to have in that particular moment. So it's a really cool track. Is there anything you'd like to share about it?
Yeah, of course. When I was making the song, I feel like when I was recording it, I was just giving it my all. I was just really feeling those emotions and trying to let it out through the voice. I think that song really just captures like an emotion that maybe a lot of people could relate to, and something that my friend Jay Wade was able to really replicate well with the energy and the lyrics that he brought to it. So yeah, I feel like that one's definitely a special one. Kind of hits hard because it's like the first like song that's full of emotion that's in the album. So
yeah, very much so. Well, it's a cool track. I'm really excited for like what everybody else says about it when it comes out.
Yeah,
that's one that I think is just, it's got this extra weight to it in a really good way. But now I kind of want to, it's not so much a technical question, but sticking kind of in the vein of the like creation and decision side of things. How did you go about like beat selection? Were you getting it all online? Were you getting them from people? And then at a certain point along the way, did you like have a vibe in mind you were going for?
So about beat selection, when I'm searching for beats, I will hopefully find at least one, but a lot of times, like when I am finding good beats, it just goes on a streak and I'll save a bunch of beats. So then I go through those when I'm going to make songs. But as far as like the vibe overall, it wasn't like something I actually had in mind. I just thought like I want to put together an album of the songs that I love the most and the songs that were just getting stuck in my head the most. So hopefully that would happen to the audience.
Gotcha. Okay, that makes a lot of sense too. Like I said, catchy is not a word I try to overly use at any point in time, but like this album has a lot of that. There's definitely a lot of moments that like stick with you.
Oh yeah.
And just like really make you want to like kind of sing along to it early on in the track. And I think that's a really powerful element. And then actually that is really prominent in the next track we're going to talk about. So we're going to go ahead and get into it. This one's called More Out of Life.
I want more out of life than the average. I want more out of life, yeah, I want more out of life. Cause I want more out of life than the average, yeah. I want more out of life, yeah, I want more out of life.
All right, and we're back. Now that track was definitely a little more laid back. I think from the rest of the album comparatively, the beat was a little more simple. Your lyrics were a little more slidey. The whole track just felt a little less like driving, but it also felt super honest. It felt like it was this moment where you took the gloves off, you sat down at the table, you grabbed the mic, and you just kind of let everything breathe a little bit. Not that you were like gassing uncontrollably during the whole album, but there was just this air in the whole track where it felt like you just went and just let that come out as a whole track. And it really, it resonates in a cool way. It connects in a really cool way. And I think for kind of being as late into the album as it is, because it's like, in the third respectfully, it's a really good like resting point for the listening experience. I think when it gets to that, it kind of gives everybody a moment to reflect without having to like tune out of the album. Yeah. And it feels really special. There's there's something it reminds me of that I just can't put my finger on. And I'm gonna remember it later. I'm gonna wish I had said it here, but there is just something really, really introspective about that track in particular that makes it really easy to resonate with. And it's a really cool track. But before I get into my next question, do you have anything you'd like to share about it?
Yeah, so the song More Out of Life, it was made very close to the time that I made the song Falling Deep. And so maybe those are like similar in vibe or energy, but I love the song More Out of Life, man. I love to perform it at shows. I love the meaning all around for that one, definitely.
Yeah, and it feels like one that would just be cool to do live. Like it just has everything about it. I feel like it's something that people would be able to like catch on to and kind of sing along with real early on. And it has a really good like human element to it. And I'm not sure if that translates well.
Yeah, it makes sense
out loud, but yeah, there's something really relatable, and I mean, enjoyable doesn't feel like the right word, but it connects. It connects in a really good way.
Yeah.
So it is a super cool track. I'm definitely a big fan.
Hey, thank you.
Yeah. Now, since we're getting kind of towards the end here, we only have a few more to talk about after this. I want to ask now, what made you decide to do an album?
Well, I think I just had too many songs I wanted to drop, and it wasn't going to be an EP, because at first I wanted to drop 5 songs. And then over time, as I was just working on refining those and making them as good as I can and getting everything ready, I just realized like I got way too much unreleased music, way too much. So I think what made me decide to make an album is that I didn't want to drop like a bunch of EPs. I just wanted to put everything together into one solid piece, something that makes sense. And when I got the track list put together, I've just thought, this does make sense and these go well together. So
gotcha.
That's sort of why I made the album. Just had too much unreleased.
Damn, I guess that's not a bad problem to have.
Yeah.
And it seemed to work out real well because the album is really concise. It doesn't feel like it was just like, you just haberdashed a bunch of things and threw them all in a pot. So
yeah,
it worked out real well.
Awesome. Thank you.
And actually, it's funny that you brought up Fallen Deep, because that was one of the other tracks I wanted to talk about that didn't get to make the cut because there's only so many we can talk about in one episode.
Yeah.
So I am actually going to make that the outro track for this episode because I think it is really cool, and I still want people to check it out if they haven't heard the album already by the time they check this out.
Hell yeah, I bet.
But for this next one, we are going to go ahead. We're going to jump into the last couple tracks, and this next one's called "Wasted Time."
I wasted my time. Wasted so much of my life. Feel wrong, but she tell me it's alright. It's gonna be alright.
All right, we're back. Now that track had a really cool energy to it, especially at this point in the album. It's the second to last track. I'm beyond impressed that you can keep this similar vibe through the whole album and still be bringing new and interesting and refreshing experiences to the table, because it starts out so open, so airy. It feels like a beach at sunset. Like it really just kind of has that moment. And then when you come in very present. The vocals are mixed very forward. And then when you pick up the pace and you add that layer onto your voice, it just, it gives it this like really like textural experience. And the way that the track like rises and falls through the whole thing, it doesn't keep this one continuous pace. It's got these moments where it gets quicker. It's got these moments where it breaks up. It's got these moments where it lays down, comes up. It's an exciting track to listen to because of all the elements, not because you tried to make like an overly exciting track. And like I said, for this late in the album, that is a really cool experience to still have happening.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Now, before I get into the next question, is there anything you'd like to share about it?
Yeah, so the song Wasted Time, I made it, wrote it down probably almost 2 years ago. And it never got recorded because of just situations with the studio or not having my own studio at home, basically.
Yeah.
Until a while ago. And then one day I was just looking through my songs that I never got recorded. And that one was like the number one that I thought like, hey, I need to record this and do something with it. So that one right there, I made a couple months back just recorded it.
Yeah.
But yeah, that song's just about feeling like I had wasted my time in a relationship. And just sort of like everything that goes along with that, and like coming to terms or accepting that and just moving on, but still being like, damn, like I wasted my time.
I gotcha. Well, thank you for sharing that. It is a really big track. Like definitely a big fan of it.
Yeah.
And now, because we're so close to the end, I'm going to hit you with the difficult question.
All right, bet.
What are some of your favorite tracks on the album?
Some of my favorite tracks?
Yeah.
I would say For Life. That one is definitely groovy. I have fun performing it. Songs in a Spaceship with Felony Faye. I love the vibe of that song. Just the theme of it is really cool. I love like the spacey feeling and how that like incorporates with the song. I love that one. And then definitely the outro too. That's another one that's like I feel like maybe is a little bit underrated. I feel like it's having the different genre for the outro really just sort of wraps things up together for me, and just adds an extra piece of art that maybe someone else could appreciate that maybe not everybody does, but I still think fits well with the project.
Hell yeah. All right, well then with that being said, we're going to go ahead and get into the last one. Would you like to introduce the last track?
Yeah, the last track from Floating on the Waves, Does It Ever Last?
Does it ever last? Am I stuck in the past? Questions I ain't wanna ask. I'm not upset, I'm just mad.
All right, we're back. Now that track was definitely the one. I mean, it had this big, sweepy feel to the whole thing. The way the bass comes in specifically was just so smooth. Like, it was in a way that you could like feel underneath the skin. And I mean, you didn't even let up. Even in the final minutes, your verses are powerful, the hooks are gripping, very impactful. The whole track really just makes you feel in a lot more ways than one. And I mean, I think it was a perfect way to end the album. It had a little bit of everything that you had throughout the album, but it was like this moment that like you really tried to give to the listening experience, and I think you nailed it perfectly on that one.
Hey, thank you.
Yeah. Before I get into my final thoughts, because I'm definitely going to go long on that, do you have anything you'd like to share about this track?
Yeah, so that one was kind of special for me. It was definitely on a day where I wasn't like having the best day. I don't remember why, but yeah, like that one definitely just was one of the songs that came out a little easier. So like making it was a very easy process. And I was like, just fell in love with that song. And when I was putting it together, like with the album, I felt like it also fit perfectly as the outro. But yeah, like that one, I just love it for like the lyrical content. Like, it's one of my first songs where like I actually put like a few questions in the lyrics and then sort of like a response in the lyric after.
Gotcha. A little call and response.
Yeah.
Hell yeah. I dig that. Well, definitely, like I said, it's a really, really cool track. It's definitely a good way to end it.
Hell yeah.
And I mean, I honestly, at this point, usually I try to be like, my favorite one was this and that. I don't have one, man. It's kind of a tough one to say. But I'll go ahead. I'm going to share with you my final thoughts on the whole album. And I mean, honestly, the first thing I want to say is that it's very concise. It's very put together. I mean, for being 15 tracks, varying lengths, varying vibes, you didn't try to like jam pack it with a crazy variety of different things. Like, you weren't going outside of the realm of like your delivery, but the entire time, every track has its own vibe, their own space. And like, even though it's your sound, you really showed the range of your delivery, the ability to switch things up at any point and to keep it right in that space. The pace was great for the whole album. Like, it just, from the start to finish, there's never a point in time where you're like, all right, I get it. You're able to move through every track just really seamlessly. The message is so strong, and it's very apparent that you gave the album a lot of care. You gave it the time and the effort, and you made a really solid album because of it. And like, from start to finish, it's not boring. Like I said, there's never a point in time where you just want to kind of let it lull. Each track stands out in a really cool way in the order that you put it in, but each track stands out on its own. Like, you can listen to any one song on there and get a great representation of what to expect from the whole thing without being like, oh, all right, I've heard this now.
Yeah.
So just all in all, man, it's a great album. You should be really proud of what you put together.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Yeah. I guess I have one last question to go, but before we wrap it up, let's do the regular closing stuff. So for this, I'll go ahead and have you look straight at the camera. Tell everybody how they can find you.
All right. My name is John Wavy, and you can find me on Instagram at John_Wavy. You can find me on Apple Music, Spotify, YouTube, or SoundCloud under John Wavy. Hey man, I hope you check out the album, and I hope you enjoy it.
Hell yeah. And then any other plugs, any other shout outs, anybody else you want to put on while you're on here?
Yeah, sure. I would like to shout out the 2 features I have on my project, Jay Wade and Felony Faye. Shout out to you guys for working hard on making those songs with me. And thank you for doing your best, man. Let's go.
Hell yeah. All right. Now, like I said, I've got one last question to go. But before we do, I'm going to steal the camera for just a second. As always, y'all, please make sure to like, subscribe, push all the buttons, do all the things. You know, I don't know where they are, but you do, and I trust you. And one more shout out to the Brothers Apothecary, Ronald Records, and Portland Water. Thanks for keeping us hydrated. And with that being said, the final question. And now, because you've been on the show before, you've already gotten the normal final question. So we're going to spice it up just a little bit for this. What was an album that inspired you during the making of this album?
An album that inspired me during the making of this album, I would say, I don't know exactly the name of it, but it's a Deftones album. alternative rock. A lot of times I'll listen to them for inspiration, even if I'm not making that genre. But the album that has the song "Sex Tape" on it, I don't know the album name.
Yeah, I'm
sort of bad with it.
I'm not the best with it either, but I mean that is a really cool perspective to share, because I can kind of see where some of that could exist too. So
yeah,
that is a rad answer. Thank you so much for sharing.
Hey, thank you. Yeah.
But with that being said, we're going to go ahead and wrap this up. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Yeah, of course. Thank you.
Yeah. And this has been another exciting episode of Jimmy's Jambox. I'm Jimmy.
And I'm John Wavy.
And we're signing off. Later, y'all.
Me, I'm falling deep. Yeah, use my pen with intention. Hope you can see through these lenses. All my life I've been falling.